welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We are so excited to be here. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. Wow. My gosh.
That time again. So we wanted to create one of our favorite date night recipes, which is our marinated mushroom marinara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good, so delicious.
And before that, can we have a kiss?
Mwah.
Yay! Love it. So let's start with the marinating mushrooms. So yeah, why I like to start with the marinated mushrooms is because we like to put them in the dehydrator for about an hour. You don't have to use the dehydrators if you don't have one, or if you don't want to use it, but we like to use it just to give it a little bit of flavor concentration and for the mushrooms to kind of soften a little bit. So we'll use that. To start though, we will be using lemon juice.
And check this cool thing out, you guys. It's just a little juicer that you just can stick right on top of a mason jar. It's like, you know, it collects all the seeds. Super fun. It's a new gadget that I got for Christmas and I'm pretty excited about it.
Perfect. So we'll juice the lemons and actually, let's use this one. So we have our bowl where we're going to put our lemon juice in. Perfect. Followed by some grated garlic. Now you can grate the garlic if you want to. You can press it. You can use garlic powder, whichever you want to use. We're going to grate our garlic. And we're going to add some oregano.
All right, we got a little oregano in here. Delicious. Do you want me to pop these up?
Sure.
So before we cut the mushrooms, normally what we'll do is we'll just kind of crack out the stem. And my kids actually have a couple of pigs. So we bring in and give them some of the compost. We like to save them the stems. They love them. So yeah, you just kind of like give them a little crack. They crack right out.
And then you can slice the mushrooms. The thinner you slice them, the better they marinate. So if you have really thick slices, they might not marinate the same. So I personally like them thin, but if you are kind of in a rush, you're trying to get food prep done really fast, we have this awesome tool, which is an egg slicer.
Yes, exactly. Egg slicer or strawberry slicer. But what is so nice about it, you guys, is it's got razor blades rather than the typical egg slicer that has the wire. So it's very, very strong. And so yeah, what you do is you just put the mushroom in there or a strawberry and put it over the bowl and it just slices it for you. Beautiful slices. So if you have a lot to do, it sure makes it nice. But what's so nice about it is it's so strong because of those blades.
Yeah, we have had the ones with the wire and they don't last very long. Even though they're inexpensive, they just don't last. Considering how many mushrooms we eat, we go through quite a few. So we got ourselves this one that is all metal and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's been so handy. Actually, we actually bought another one just in case this one does give out. So there it is.
Perfect. I can mix this up a little bit.
Okay, you want to rinse that?
Oh, yes.
One thing that I like to do all the time, you guys, after using any tool in the kitchen is at least rinse it. So that mushroom slicer we just sliced up these mushrooms with, if you just give it a rinse and a little scrub, it's clean. I mean, you could throw a little soap on if you wanted or whatever, but if you don't let the stuff dry on there, it definitely makes it a lot easier for the cleaning process.
Awesome.
All right, look at there.
Next up, we will be adding some green onions. So I've got 3 stalks here.
It smells good.
Does smell good. Oh my gosh.
Nice. Some green onions in there. Yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good Valentine's Day. I know that we have probably some people from all across the globe here, so different time zones. I know some of you guys are probably in the future. It's morning here for us, but this does smell like a pretty tasty breakfast.
Right? Sometimes salads for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get those green onions in. And we will also be adding a little bit of onion. Shallot is preferred. We didn't have a shallot, so we're just going to add a little bit of yellow onion. You can add, you don't have to add the onion if you don't want to, but we like the extra flavor. I'm just going to add a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So delicious. So, so good.
And you can add other things to this too. We're actually going to be adding some tomatoes as well.
Yeah, some little cherry tomatoes. We're going to slice these pups up.
Yeah. All right. Now, if you want to have a chunkier marinara, definitely go ahead and add other vegetables that you want, like broccoli. What else could you add?
Yeah, some broccoli, some red bell pepper. That's typically what we'll put in there. The red bell pepper, the mushrooms, and the onions. Yeah, definitely a broccoli wouldn't be too bad. Or a cauliflower. Take the cauliflower, or as our friend Chris likes to call it, the ghost broccoli. And what we do if we're using cauliflower is we'll bust up the flowerets and then freeze it. And what's so cool about freezing it, you guys, is the water expands within it and it kind of breaks the cell wall. So that way when you thaw it, it's almost like it's been steamed.
Yeah, and then when you put it in the dehydrator, marinate it, it's got that soft texture.
Yes,
great.
Exactly. It's super soft.
So next up, I have a cup of cherry tomatoes, and I'm just going to sort of cut them up small. We don't want them to be too big. You could always use a food processor if you wanted to, but I find this way to be quite meditative. I like to chop them up this way, just kind of taking my time.
Yes, take your time. Don't cut your fingers. Mm-hmm.
All right, here, let's add those.
Oh yeah. A chunky mushroom marinara.
And this is the chunky part. This is what makes it chunky. Those marinated mushrooms. And you could add other flavors too. If you wanted to have more basil, you could add basil to that. Some sage. Thyme,
some rosemary. Now, are we going to put these in the dehydrator?
Yeah, actually, these ones we won't, because the dehydrator might be a little loud. We have some already in there, ready to go. So if you guys want, you can put this in the dehydrator for an hour. So next time you make this, you could do that. We find that because of that, turns out a little bit softer.
Yeah, it just softens them up a little bit.
All right, so there we go. We've got all of our tomatoes.
The dehydrator. It's like the raw food chef's oven. Oh, that looks good. That is beautiful.
Sweet. So what we like to do for the dehydrator, we'll just show you how we would put them onto a tray. All right. So we have our dehydrator tray here, and we like to use the flex sheet that comes with the dehydrator, but you could also use a silicone baking sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Those work really well. Don't use parchment paper.
Right.
It doesn't work very well in the dehydrator. So then all we do is put all of our marinated mushrooms right on top of
Now, say if you guys have a lot of juice, you can just kind of put this on top so it doesn't get all juicy, and then just get it right on there. That way there's no drizzles. Oh man, it smells so good.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
All right, and then how long would you put these in the dehydrator for, and what temperature?
So these here, you guys, you can put in there for maybe like an hour at like 100, 110 at the most. You don't really need too much, just enough to kind of get them a little soft. You want to keep it off. Okay.
Awesome. So once those are in the dehydrator and maybe they've been in there for about an hour or so, then we move on to the next steps. There's 2 more steps. The next one is one of your favorites, I think.
Yeah.
You like doing this?
Yeah, exactly, guys. So like she said, we just prepped those mushrooms. You put those in there. They didn't take very long, maybe 10 minutes. Put those in the dehydrator for like an hour or so, and you can kind of get other things done. But then when it is getting closer time to eating, then you would come in and do this part here, which we're going to take this beautiful English cucumber and spiralize it. Now, a lot of times we'll leave the skin on, and we actually have like a scrubby mitt that we use, which has like kind of a little rough scrubby to it. And you can kind of, you know, wash up the cucumber, but we can peel it for today.
And for presentation purposes, when you peel it, it makes the noodles look a little bit whiter in the bowl. So they look more like pasta, kind of.
Exactly.
They don't have the green.
No green. And this one's got a little angle to it. So, and we're going to use, what do you call this spiralizer?
This one here?
Yeah.
This is called the Paderno. It's kind of one of the first ones that came out, I would say. I know there's some other brands that are very similar. So
the Paderno.
Yeah.
It works so good.
But we also have a veggie bullet, which I don't believe is in production anymore. Like they don't make them. But
it's a real
it's
shame.
Really cool. It's an electric one.
It's a shame they don't make it anymore because it is so handy, especially if you're having a dinner party and you have a lot of cucumbers to spiralize. It makes it so fast. So this here, actually, you want to grab that?
Yeah.
It gets a little watery, you guys. So you put a little cutting board underneath. Let's see if I can get a little.
Kind of like put it on an angle so that when it backs up, it's not.
And I was thinking about that. There we go.
Yeah.
Let's try that. All right. So this guy will just go in here, and then you just give it the twirl. Let's back this up a little bit. Oh yes, look at those. Oodles of koodles. So yeah, you can see if you had 10 of these to do, it just takes a little time. What a magnificent machine though, isn't it?
Look at that, we've got koodles. So normally when we make this for our dinner, we each have 2 cucumbers each.
That's right.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll spiralize 4 cucumbers for the evening. So because 1 just isn't enough for us, but we're just going to be doing 1 for the show because it is still morning here. And we want to have this at lunch, so we'll spiralize more at lunch. We have our Valentine's Day heart bowl for you today. We're going to be putting our noodles in there. Now, if you want, you could put these on a towel of some kind, like if you have a, let's just use the one here. If you have a nice towel, you could put the noodles on that just to soak up a little bit of the excess water, just because they can be kind of watery. So we've got them up here. Just let those sit for a little bit while we make our sauce.
Excellent. Now see, we rinse that zoodler out right away. That way those noodles don't dry to the machine where you're having to scrub it. All right.
Cool. All right, so let's make the sauce.
Okay.
Woo.
I'll get you over here. She's the sauce queen.
Thank you, my love.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got our Vitamix here. We're going to we have some fresh basil, but we're going to start with, you could get these garlics ready.
Okay.
That'd be great,
Yeah.
thanks. So we've got 8 dates. We're starting with dates. When I created this recipe, I would try different kinds of marinaras, and they all tasted a little bit too earthy to me, and they weren't just kind of what I was used to. So I started adding dates to them, and I found the dressing was just so much better with the dates. Plus the extra calories from the dates really helps to sustain energy for longer.
Yeah.
So we've got 8 dates here. And I know some people say, well, it's going to be too sweet. You might be surprised. I know that way back in the day when I was started in natural health, I heard this one study that said they tested people who wanted to have tomato sauce. So they had different kinds of tomato sauces, and almost all of them chose the one with the added sugar in it as opposed to the other ones. So we like that sweetness in our tomato sauces. So the dates are really going to help to balance that out.
And it's not super sweet. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so good. So we've got our 8 dates in there. Make sure they're pitted. You don't want to have date pits in your sauce because that sucks.
Oh, it's the worst.
Then we will follow with half a cup or a quarter cup, of sun-dried tomatoes. We have 1 Roma tomato. You could also use cherry tomatoes if you had like maybe 6 or 7 cherry tomatoes. You could put those in there. I like to cut them up a little bit so that they are easier to blend. And then we have our bell pepper. This is such a great addition to our sauce. Love adding bell pepper to our sauces.
Most definitely. Yeah, and the dates, it's nice to have the dates in there because the dates add more calories.
Really helps. Especially since the cucumber noodles are so low calorie.
Right.
You need a lot for a good overall meal.
And they say like 1 medjool date is about 60 calories. So we have 8 in there.
Yeah.
So almost 500 calories in dates right there.
Yeah. Now we're gonna add our bell pepper. Again, I chopped it up a little bit to make it easier to blend.
Yeah, it's nicer on the blender. We gotta love our tools.
We have to love our tools. And you just tossed some garlic in there.
Some garlic, and then we'll throw this fresh basil.
We'll do that last.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's right.
We'll let it blend first.
Pulse it.
So then we've got some paprika. You guys can add a little bit of paprika to your sauce. And the oregano, but again, we're gonna be adding the oregano last with the basil because the thing is, with the marinara sauce, you're gonna need to blend for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, just until the blender's a little bit warm so that you're not eating cold sauce on your spaghetti. Another tip too, on a side note, if you're going to make this for dinner, take your cucumbers out of the fridge if they've been in the fridge, because we don't want to be eating cold.
Right. Another thing we'll do sometimes is even after it's spiralized or before it's spiralized. If it's before it's spiralized, you can put the cucumber in the dehydrator just to kind of warm it up a little bit. Or you can even throw your noodles in on the dehydrator sheet just for a little bit, not very long.
Yeah, just for maybe like 5 minutes, because otherwise they get a little bit too kind of crispy or whatever. So yeah, make sure that your ingredients are all room temperature, especially your noodles. But with the sauce, because you're blending it for 1.5 minutes, it's going to warm up a little bit. And if you put the basil and the oregano in before you blend it, after 2 minutes, it's going to be really bitter. And it's not going to have that that basil flavor, the fresh basil flavor.
It's a good thing you caught me. I don't want to have bitter tasting sauce.
Exactly. I did that one time and I learned my lesson. So we are going to blend. We're not going to blend for 2 minutes right now on the show because it's going to be a lot to just blend for 2 minutes. So we will just blend it right now. We're going to add some water. You're probably going to add like maybe over a cup, maybe almost 2 cups of water or more, because the dates and the sun-dried tomatoes are really going to suck up a lot of the water. So it might slow down the blending process, and you want it to be blending just enough so it's still thick. So just keep adding just a little bit of water every once in a while you're blending for 2 minutes, because it can get really thick during this process.
Just enough to kind of get it to move.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll blend this up. And if you guys want, you can go for 2 minutes, or 1.5 minutes is typically good, just until it's nice and warm. All right, so let's pretend that you blended for 2 minutes and it's nice and warm. Then you would add your basil. You can add as much as you want. If you want it to be really basil-y, you can add a lot. If you just want a couple leaves, that's fine too. And then about a tablespoon of dried or fresh oregano. And again, play with the flavors. Start slow. You can always add more, but you're really just going to blend it for like 3 seconds or so, just to break everything up and blend it slightly. And that's that. All right.
Okay, so what's next?
What's next? Next up, we are going to mix our sauce with our mushrooms.
Okay.
So our mushrooms would have been in the dehydrator for about an hour. And these are the ones that we put in earlier this morning before the show. So they've been in there for a little bit. And I'll just need a bowl, my love.
You want a bowl or a plate?
A bowl.
Okay, here we go.
To mix. Yeah, perfect. And you have the spatula. Sweet. So let's put the mushrooms in first. Now Nate really likes to lift up the paper and then pour it over like this, because that way we don't get this all messy and we don't have to wash it.
Yes, then you just have to wash your Teflon sheet.
Yeah, perfect. This smells amazing. So good. Okay, next step, you want to take your sauce that you've blended and pour that all into your bowl.
That is very, very nice.
So this one here is a little on the thinner side. Lissa added just a little too much water. So you guys want to be really sure to just add enough water, like maybe a cup, to get it to go. Because if you put your wet ingredients in the Vitamix first, say like the bell pepper, that's going to really help the blend, as opposed to putting, say, the dates or the sun-dried tomatoes in there first. And then you can just add just a little bit of water, just little bits as it's going. This isn't going to be very bad, but of course it is nice to have a thick sauce.
Yeah, exactly. I was a little distracted with you guys and I was just pouring it in. But yeah, so start slow with the water just to make sure that you get a nice thick sauce. So there we have that. And we've got our bowl here. We have our noodles. Again, this has soaked up a lot of the water. You can't even press
Another thing too that's interesting is when you mix the tomato sauce with the cucumber noodles or zucchini noodles. What's the reaction, the chemical reaction that's going on?
I think the sodium in the tomatoes,
Okay.
because tomatoes have natural sodium in them, actually pulls the water out of the noodles. So even if you have the driest zucchini noodles, as soon as you put the sauce on, all of a sudden it's full of water at the bottom of the dish. So we don't mind if there's a little bit of water. We have a friend.
We have a friend in here.
We don't mind if there's a little bit of water. Oh, and there's another tip too. Do you want to grab the scissors?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely like to give it a good snip once over, just so it's not real intense with the noodle.
Yeah, so if you do that, just because like some of these really long ones, unless you're doing the Lady and the Tramp thing,
Right.
and you want to have the Valentine's Day thing going on. Otherwise, I like to make like kind of like a little nest in the middle, just like so. I'll show you guys. Just make a little nest, pull the noodles up to the sides, especially for pictures. This looks great. Then you can fit more sauce in the center. And
oh,
woo,
yeah.
look at this.
Delicious.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, very nice.
And then we can always take a couple little basils if you have a couple little leaves left.
Oh, darn, I didn't leave the leaves.
It's okay. Could always put a couple up at the top.
Very nice. Look, so beautiful, so delicious.
And there we go. Our little Valentine's Day. This is for you, Doug.
Thank you guys. Just 20 minutes. Can you believe it? 20
Well, I
minutes
got
and Valentine's dinner's ready.
Lissa, thank you so much. It's absolutely, the presentation is beautiful. You know, I love cucumber noodles is my favorite thing. Definitely, I'm a dog personality. It's my favorite thing. But that just looks so, I'm ready. Could you just pass it to me, please?
Yes, here too. Pass it here.
Ah, that looks great. Thank you so much.